Welcome, everybody, today to Office Hours. My name is Mark Stepp. I am the Chief Innovation Officer here at Realvolve and your host for today's Office Hours. Today is April 27th and a wonderful day here in Missouri. We've been having all kinds of weird weather, but excited about having some time with you guys and just kind of going over some stuff. One thing that I do want to, let me go ahead and do some slides here. An announcement. Next week, May 4th, I will not be in the office, but Office Hours is still going to be held by none other than our own Lisa Crumby. She is from our Premium Services Department. Just a great person that everybody should know. She is actually part of what we call the Navigator team. She specializes in the workflows and helping agents with all kinds of processes. Next week, make sure that you visit the Realvolve community page. There will be a different Zoom link to get into this session. We want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to see it. And if you go to my link, it won't work. So next week only, just make sure that you visit our Realvolve community. She's going to go over some how-tos and information about Realvolve and workflows, really from an agent perspective. She spends all of her time day in, day out with agents in that Navigator arena that we have. And if you're not familiar with Navigator, it's something that you guys might be interested in learning more about. It is part of our premium services, like I said, but they really help you get started and running Realvolve in a much bigger way than maybe you would if you did it on your own. There'll be a Q&A section for just questions and answers. And I'm sure she'll give you whatever information that you want to know about premium services if you do have any questions. So be sure to ask. And that's that. Just, again, make sure you visit that special. The announcement will have a special link, a Zoom link that you guys can use. Next, I wanted to share something with you. Last week, we did a session on webhooks, but last week's webhook session that we did was about creating pipelines from the data using our webhook and sending data to a spreadsheet. And as I was doing this, I was showing kind of the how-tos and stuff. Cody, who visits us occasionally, and I think I saw him online, he popped up and said something about, hey, I've got an idea for us. So I was kind of surprised. This was kind of cool. So if you want to see last week's session, you can go out to our YouTube channel. You can do a search for Office Hours, update your pipeline status board using webhook action. You can go to our youtube.com/C/ I think that's for channel, /Realvolve training. And it'll get you there. You can do a search. You can find this. It's also I've got a whole playlist in that channel just for webhooks. So it's been a big push, but here's what I want to show you guys. This is really cool. Cody showed this piece where he took the same type of data from the spreadsheet using the webhook to send the data into a spreadsheet and created these items like this. Now, this is like a world different of display where you can take information and show it. The cool thing about this is it takes that same data, displays it differently, goes some charts and graphs and stuff. There's one that was designed just for commission pipeline by agents. So if you have a team, you can actually do some displaying based off of your team, but it's also interactive. And I want to show you this. And here's another dashboard for showing kind of groups of information based off of year-to-date contracts, how many have closed, how many pending. This is just really cool. And let me, I want to stop this for a second and show you guys this. Let me do this in presentation mode. So here's one of this. The cool thing about this is you can create and use different. Actually, they create them. You can use different designs. You can go through and see the different screens. There's an option so that if you're using a TV monitor on your screen or on your wall, and you want to maybe update information every 10 seconds and it just rotates through it, you can set this up and it just kind of rotates. Let me make sure that it does it every 10 seconds. Wait 10 seconds and goes through, and it should go to the next one. There we go. And just kind of rotates through each of them. That's really cool. The other thing that this does, actually, let me go back one. No, these are there's single agent ones that he's done, and then there's also multi-agent ones. So what you can do is, let me just use this one actually, no, I want to go one more, where we have the commission. So this one would be more of a private one. You probably wouldn't display this on your screen necessarily, but definitely if you're a team leader or something, this could be something very useful where you can drop down, and I just plugged my data into the designs that he created and been able to pull in and say, well, I want to show certain agents information. You can do that. You can go in there and say, I only want to show my closed data. And then it changes the chart. So a lot of capability there to do some drilling down, seeing buy side, sell sides, sources, where's my sources coming from. If I just wanted to, this is something that was cool. In the commissions area, you can drill down or drill up. So if I wanted to, if I had a broader base of data, maybe I wanted to drill up to see it by year, or if I want to see it by day, closing date and stuff on there, what my commissions and stuff were. A lot of cool capabilities, or maybe I just want to see everything that came from Facebook. I can click on Facebook here, and then it updates all the numbers, filters out the stuff. So this is just a really, really cool way to use what we had trained in using the webhooks to bring it into a spreadsheet, but be able to use that information in a totally different way. So I wanted to share this with you guys just so that you had it available in your knowledge base, so that if that's something that you guys are interested in, it's not something, just to let you know, this is not something that Realvolve would support necessarily, but Cody and the team over there would. And so if you guys are interested in that, you could go to Cody at workflowsecrets.info. and he can get you more information. So the rest of what I'm going to do today, we're going to have kind of two parts to this. We're going to have a section on some of the questions that came up recently on some different emails and stuff that I've gotten, and also just have an open session just for questions that you guys have. So if you've got questions, think about them, and we'll certainly be able to go through those as well. First question that came up is, how do I deal with large images in the email signature when viewed from a mobile device? So if you're sending from Realvolve, if you're sending emails, templates and stuff from Realvolve, and that email has a signature in it, a lot of times what will happen, depending on how it's set up in your signature block, the image or images, if you've got maybe links, I've also seen it where there's links of like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, little icons. Those icons can get really large, and that's because on a mobile device, whenever somebody's looking at their emails, the mobile device physically reorients and changes what they call responsive viewing of of images and text and everything, so that it can see it better on the mobile device. Well, what happens though is that you may have an image that should be a small image, but for whatever reason, it blows up and it becomes very big. And what I want to do is show how to handle that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here into Realvolve, and I'm just going to do signature. I'm going to search for signature. In this case, it's going to be the signature enhanced. So this is kind of the design that you might have. You might also have, like I said, let me just do an example here. You might have, and if you guys aren't familiar with this, this actually takes care of it so you don't have the issue. We have a button up here called, well, it's actually a template button for templates. So you can click on the little template button here, and there's lots of different other templates, but we've got some in here for the different social media elements. So you might have, Instagram, Google, whatever. We've got one here that's just kind of a list of all of them in a 32 by 32 section. So you could go in here and click on each one of these and look at the link and then paste in your Facebook link. Go in here for Twitter and then paste in your Twitter link. Any of these that you don't use, you can remove. But what you'll see, because we use this as a template, it actually already takes care of it for you. The images in here are inside of a table, and I'm not really sure. Let me see if I can zoom in here. You can see that there's a border of things there, and there's a table of stuff. And the reason why we do that is to prevent this resizing issue, because if I didn't have this inside of a table and each cell of that table is a specific size, each one of these little circles would be like huge circles inside the mobile device screen on your phone. So what I wanted to do is just show you the kind of the process that you would do to deal with this. So in this case, this is actually set up, this particular one is just set up with an image, and that image, if I double click on it, you'll see that it's the alignment, actually down now. The alignment is set to left, which means I want to left justify this image, and any text that I'm putting in will be pushed off to the right and wrap around it. So the way it's set up is that this extra text is just wrapping to the side of it because it's left justified. And what we want to do, let me put this on Do Not Disturb for an hour, then to do that. What we want to do is take this image, and the way I normally do it is I will just click up here in somewhere. Whenever you're doing a signature, just as a note here, it's always good to have some space between your signature and the text that it's going to be inserted in. So I always just force an extra line at the top before I do anything. And you can just put a space bar if it's closing up. It shouldn't anymore, I don't think, but having a space bar would do it. And you can also adjust the height of that space if you do it that way, so that you can adjust the height of your signature if you want to. But in this case, what I want to do is I want to insert a table. So I'm going to click over here and choose Insert Table. And I just want one row, and I'm going to do 2 columns. I'll do it this way. 1 row, 2 columns, width is 500. I don't want a border. I want to get rid of that border. Those images and stuff down below have borders. And then cell spacing, I really don't want cell spacing or padding. Now, the reason why I do that I'll explain it here in a second. So what this does is this creates a table of 2 elements. And what I can do then is take this image and drag it into that cell. Now, whenever I do that, you'll see that the cell kind of goes wide. It says, hey, I'm going to make room for you so you can type other stuff in. But this image, if I look at the image on this, maybe I wanted to make this image a certain size, and maybe like width of, it's just set to whatever the width of the image actually is. So maybe I want to make it 200 by 200, or in this case, it automatically fills in the 211 in order to keep it proportional. If I want it smaller, I can bring it down to 100 by whatever it is, and it'll make it smaller. If I want a small image and I change it without putting it in a table, even if I set the size here, it can still blow it up on a mobile device. But if you put it inside a table like this, and I've got this currently set as 100, and then you right-click in this cell and say, I want to view the cell properties. In this case, I want the width of this cell to always be 100 pixels. In this case, we're doing pixels. The height doesn't matter. You can leave it alone. And what it does then is it shrinks that cell down and sets that table cell a certain width. Then I can come over here and say, well, I want the rest of this information over in this other area. Let me grow this a little bit. Grab that and copy and paste it easier. And put it in that way. So by doing this, I've now said, okay, this image is always going to be 100 in width, and then this cell here, you might even go in here and choose cell properties on this one, and just make sure that it's either a certain width, or you could even say a certain percentage, say 100%, and it'll just fill in everything within this with this cell size. So the advantage at this point now is whenever I send that email to a mobile device, this image will stay 100 in width. It won't grow large and look daffy and look funny. Same type of thing on each one of these cells. If I'm in here and I do a cell properties, you'll see that we've already pre-assigned the width on these and the height technically to be 32. So whenever you use these images this way, they won't grow because they're inside of a table as well. Any questions on that? Speak up if you do. Andrew, it looks like you might be trying to talk, but I'm not hearing you.
Nope.
I don't know if you've got it. There, maybe that's it. Try again.
Sorry, no, I wasn't trying to talk.
Oh, okay. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
I saw the microphone lighting up. Okay. So that's that one. And I wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that is an issue, kind of. It's really not as much of an issue. It's HTML doing its thing. And if you've got your signature set up the right way, it will actually do it right whenever you send it. It's just a matter of if you use plain HTML, don't really do anything other than left justify an image. The mobile device says, hey, I've got an image here and it looks awfully small. I'm going to make it so I can fit it inside and the viewer can view it properly. And it's just the way it is. So there's that. Okay, so next question. How to customize your existing contact templates to create PDFs. So for those that are or are not aware, I guess, one of the things that you can do, let me go into name. So Let me just grab one of these. I'm not sure which one. Okay, so say for instance, I'm on a contact and we have this button here called Generate PDF. What it does, for those that aren't aware, is whenever you click on that, it brings you into our editor, our template editor, and allows you to choose a template of some sort. Say, thank you for meeting with me, whatever. So here's, that's not a great one. Let me delete that out. Creates an, I could have left that in there. It wouldn't have hurt anything. But what this does is it brings you into a template. And instead of having like on an email, instead of it being able to send the email with a to or anything, there's no to or from option on this, but it looks very similar to an email. You have the option to say, well, I want to create this as a PDF and I want to preview it. What's it going to look like? So it does a little preview and brings it up. So it creates it. It puts our signature and stuff in there. I didn't save that last signature, so it didn't do anything. But this way, it just kind of fills it in and creates a PDF. I did that as a show preview. There is a create PDF option where it actually creates the PDF. And if once it creates it, it also puts it into the files tab of that contact so you can view it again and see it. So if I do create PDF, it'll create it. I can actually download it by clicking on the little icon there and it'll show it. But at the same time, I come into files. Here it created this thank you PDF and then I can download it from there and see it as well. At this point, then I can print it and do whatever I want. The challenge is that on a template, if you want it to look a certain way, the margins on this can look weird. It was designed for an email, but I'm printing it as a PDF. So the way to deal with that, and I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to come in here into the templates area, and I'm going to do search for thank you for listing. I want to do this one. So two things that I want you to be aware of. Number one, you're in order to adjust the margins on the PDFs, you have to make sure you're using the enhanced editor. And you will know the enhanced editor by looking at the toolbar. Now, this one is a basic editor. This is not the enhanced editor. And what it is it will just have one toolbar. There's only one. Normally in the enhanced editor, there's 3 toolbars of things. What I want to do is show this to you. So if you've got, what I did was I made a copy of this just prior to this session. Whenever you have a template that's a basic template, there's 3 buttons here that you have if it's basic. A copy, which I did the copy and made a copy and called it thank you listing enhanced. But you'll also see this little cropping tool, and it's really to convert a basic template. If it is a basic, most templates aren't basic anymore, but just in case you've received one from a library of some sort that you've downloaded and it was never converted, you might see this, and it's important to have it. So I'm going to go to this one, and this copy that I made, and I just renamed it to enhance because I wanted to show this process as an enhanced. You'll see that it's currently a basic template because it has one toolbar here. But if I come here on the left-hand side and click on this little convert to enhanced template, it will go through and it will change the layout of it. And within that layout, you'll now see there are 3 lines of toolbars. So we know it's enhanced and just in how it looks. Now, it's not actually converted yet until you say convert and save. It's kind of in a preview mode so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. You can cancel the conversion and it'll go back to the basic. You can preview it to see what it's going to look like. The reason why we don't automatically convert all basic templates into enhanced templates is our basic template, our old editor that we had for basic templates, would treat spaces differently and just cause problems. And if you change it and use the enhanced editor, it would add, the spacing might not look right. So we wanted to make sure if you are planning on converting something, at least you're viewing it first, you're making sure the spacing and everything looks right, and then you can save it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Convert and Save. Now this, and you'll see now that it's converted, you'll see that there's some bigger spacing gaps. And this is where we want to kind of clean this up and set this how we want it. Once we've got it, then we can click on Save again. Now, the reason why we need it in an enhanced editor is because we need this little tool right here, this Customize Margins. This button does not exist on the basic editor. There's just no way of adjusting those margins in that basic editor. But we do have it in the enhanced. You'll also see that now that I've converted and I've clicked on Save, you'll see this little new icon here. That just means it's in the new editor, the enhanced editor, and you can see that it's not there. The other thing that is different is on any kind of enhanced template, you won't get the convert. It's already been converted, so you can't convert it. So that little tool, if I come here and look at the old one, it still has the conversion tool, where this one doesn't. But what we want to do is we want to come in here into the margins, customize margins, and this is where we can define then the margins for our PDF that we want to create if we ever want to use it as a PDF. So some templates you can still use it as an email, but if it's also a PDF, you can adjust the margins. So maybe I want I've got like a 1.5 top margin where I might be printing on some letterhead or something like that, and maybe a 0.5, 0.5, and maybe 0.75. Create the margins how you want, however, whatever is important to you, and then click on that. So now you'll see that it's set up that way, and I can click on Save. Now then, if I go in to my, thank you for listening. If I go into Mark and I go on to the PDF and say, thank you for, oh, you know what? The other thing that I did, I should have used a different template. And this is kind of important though. Thank you. Listing. I didn't even pay attention to this. This template that I created is actually a template for property. So we need to make sure that it's set for a contact if I'm going to be emailing it from the contact side. If I was doing this from the property side, I wouldn't have to worry about that. But in this case, since I'm making it as a PDF, I need it as a contact. And I'm going to change this to reading, blah, blah, blah. Okay, just put it in there as an example. So I'm going to come over here, click on the PDF, and choose thank you for listing enhanced. And now you'll see that it is in a, it's got the top margin, short left and right. And if I do a show PDF, it's got the 1.5 inches at the top, 1/2 inch on left and right. And since it's only a short one, you really can't tell. But if this was multiple pages of stuff, it would have a 0.75 bottom margin, and it would create multiple pages if it needed to. The other thing that I want to make sure you guys are aware of on this is, let's say, for instance, probably not a great example, but I'm going to come in here. I'm viewing just, this is my trainer database. So I've got several names of different of people in here, and some of these are duplicates for a reason. But so let's say, for instance, I wanted to send some letters to my family, and one for myself. Whatever. So I can select multiple people. You'll see that same PDF option up here. I can click on that. Now, this one is a little bit different. This one is where it's saying, okay, we're going to create PDFs, but we're going to create it for the 4 contacts that you selected. What's the template that you want to use? And I'm going to say, thank you for listening. I'm just going to use that same one. Down here at the bottom, we've got some options, and it's kind of important that you know what those are. Number one, do we want to save these as into the files tab? If you're doing them one by one, it will automatically create the saved copy into the files tab. If you're doing them as bulk, you have the option to not save them into files. It may just be something that you don't want or need, and you can turn that off if you don't want. If you're doing this with the selected, you might have selected a husband-wife, but you only want to send one instead of sending it to both. And so this little option here says, if it's a husband-wife relationship, actually, it doesn't have to be husband-wife, but if they've got a relationship, could be complicated, or any of those options. If they're in a relationship, only print one. If you want to send them out, each person gets their own copy. Uncheck that, and you're good to go. If I then go in here and click on Create PDF, then it's going to take each person and create this as a PDF. The cool thing is it creates one big PDF that I can download and I can print. And that way I don't have to load each one individually. It just creates one big PDF file and I can print it. But it will save individual copies of that into each person's files tab. So that's cool. The other thing that this does is, if I'm in here, I'm editing, I'm making changes, and I want to save those changes, I can say create the PDF and save as template. So it'll let you save the changes back into the template if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, you can just click on create PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and just do this just to kind of show you. So I'm going to create the PDF. So now it's created it. If I click on download PDF, here's Jake, Mark and Kathy, Mark individually, and Savannah. So this just shows you how you can come in here. I could then go in and click on print. It'll print all of them, and we're good to go. You could do the same type of thing to create some envelopes if you wanted to, create lay out those and do the envelopes if you wanted to. But this is just a way of dealing with it. Now, let's do 2 things. Number one, I'm going to go over here to Kathy and look at the Files tab here. And here's that thank you. If I look at this one, you'll see that it's just the single copy for Mark and Kathy. If I go to, see, was it the first Jake one? No, not sure which one. There it is. If I go to Jake, same type of thing. It's just the Jake one. So those are there. If you've done PDFs and you've downloaded them, you can also, if you didn't click on the little link to pull it up, you also have the ability to go into settings. And there's a section here for PDF printed documents. And you'll see here that on that we did this one just 2 minutes ago. If I click and download that, it'll give me the whole gamut of all 4 of them that I did as a batch, and then be able to print those out. So you have access to it, even if you missed clicking on the little pop-up link that comes up. So, come back over here. So just some key points there. Make sure that you customize the margins of this using that customized margins for your PDFs. But in order to do that, you do have to make sure that you've converted it to an enhanced template. Okay, how do I update the sellers using a seller report and accessing help to do this? So instead of actually showing you how to do this, I wanted to make sure that you guys knew where to find stuff in our YouTube channel. So if you go out to youtube.com / Realvolve training, actually /C.
People ask us all the time, what?
/C /Realvolve training. This is our main channel. You can, if you just do a search for Realvolve, there'll be an option for Realvolve. There's several people in here. We've got all kinds of videos and stuff. We do have sections in here for just videos, so you can go to the video side. You can also go to different playlists, and we do have this office hours for those that want to re-listen to some of our past office hours. You can go into office hours. I did also create a separate playlist for webhook training, just those items specifically for webhooks. But if you look at the videos in here and you do a search, you might do seller report, and we have a whole training on seller reports. There's a couple different ones that we've done. So seller reports using workflows and templates. This one here is probably one of the good. Oh, actually, we did it in office hours as well. I was trying to think. There's a newer one in our office hours section that just goes over how to update sellers. You can use this for sellers, but you can also use it for buyers as well, and also the showings tab on a contact. There's 3 different sets of merge fields that you can use in templates to be able to do that. So something to look at, make sure that you're aware of. See YouTube channel. I'll make this slide available to you guys as well, but these slides. What's the difference between an activity and a task when syncing to Google Calendar? Okay, so let me come back over here. So here's something that everybody should know or needs to know. You may not know, but it's something you should understand and know. Whenever you're looking at a Realvolve calendar, or even the, let me pull up my calendar. Should have done this earlier. Mark step. Okay, so I'm not really using the right calendar for the right one here, but so whenever you look at the Realvolve calendar, there's a section here called all day, and then there's a section here for times. And whenever you're looking at it in week view, it's the same thing. But if you're looking at it in month, we just kind of lump everything into a certain cell, whether it be an all-day activity or a timed activity. But there's also, besides being an all-day activity and a a timed activity, we have the ability to create tasks. And a task just says, I want to do it on a certain day. It's not an all day. It doesn't have a time associated to it, but it's still something that needs to be done on a particular day. So let me just kind of show this as an example. If I come in here and say at 8 o'clock today, I put this as I'm going to say activity first. It is an activity. Not that putting the word activity does anything. I just want to identify it as that. So if I edit this activity, if I click on it and choose edit, this schedule section over here, you'll see that it has both a date and a time associated with it. So doing that, if I have it set to Google Sync, it will put in at 8 o'clock a.m., it'll put an item in here, and I don't have this account set up to this Google account, but it would create an activity in here called activity to at 8 o'clock. It would look something like this. Okay. Oh, moving it around. Sorry. And save. So it would do something like that. Now, if I was to say, okay, that's fine and dandy, but really it's something I want to do all day, I can move it up here as an all day activity. Whenever I do that, if I click on it and choose edit, it no longer says that it has a time associated to it, but it does say that it is an all day activity. It's stating here all day on this day. And whenever that happens, if Google was set up to sync, it would actually put it up here into this upper area. Actually, I'm gonna have to edit it in Google and say that it's all day and save. Doing that, it puts that activity up there. And it would have done the same thing if it was set to sync. It would throw it up there at the top. This is an activity. Now, in Realvolve, we also have, besides an all-day activity and a day and time, we also have this option here called due date. A due date item is something that has a date. It's due on a certain day, but it's not a time. And it's not an all day. It doesn't have any kind of time association to it. And whenever that is set up, and you would click on save, it will still show up here as it's titled activity, but technically now it's no longer an activity in Realvolve. It's actually a task. A task is something that does not have a time on it associated. So I could come over here and say, I've currently have it set for show tasks. If I uncheck that, it'll go away. What we do up here is very similar in that Google has tasks also. It would convert this one to be a task instead of being an activity. And in doing so, it would actually put it in here as a pending task. But if you don't have this tasks options over here on the left checked, those go away. You won't see those. So we've had some users say, well, I'm not syncing my calendar. Well, typically it's not that you're not syncing the calendar. It is syncing, but you may not have your tasks, and or it could be reminders, depending on what flavor or version of the calendar you've got set up. There's some settings that actually converts reminders to tasks as well. But if this tasks item is not checked, or the reminders check is not checked, you might not be seeing these items. And it's not that they're not syncing, it's just that it doesn't display tasks on calendar by default. What you may actually need to do is over here down here at the bottom, there's this little arrow. And whenever you click on this arrow, it shows you this toolbar. You'll see that there is a little tasks option here. And whenever you click on that, it will bring up, let me add a task this way. Test. And I want to do this on a certain date. There. So there it's doing the tasks as a task. And if I hide my tasks, it goes away as well. I think maybe I've got multiple groups. Yeah, that's what I've got, a default list and other lists. So if I go to default list, now it's showing those other things. There's some 5 pending items that's in my task list. But you have the ability to set up tasks in Realvolve. They'll synchronize to the task side, but if you're not viewing this task side, or you're not viewing the task over here on the left, you won't see them. The nice thing about tasks is that you can check them, and if you check them, they'll be marked as completed, but they'll also, whenever it syncs to Realvolve, it'll complete them as well, as long as there's no actions or checklists that need to be dealt with. So Realvolve has extra features that Google doesn't, so you got to deal with that, but that's just something to think about. Well, we're getting short on time here, so let me go back. I hope that was informative. Okay, recent changes to our Files tab. Something that some of you may have noticed, some of you may not. It doesn't really matter too much. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of it. Let me do step again. And let me go to a record here. Go to Daryl. Okay, so here, previous to this week, we just recently posted this as a change. There was a big box here where you could drag and drop items onto it, and it would allow you to, or you click on it and it would allow you to add files. We have moved that big button that was just taking up space right there and moved it as a small button up here. So whenever you click on it, it'll then bring you to the file upload, and you can drag and drop files into this area. And you can have multiple files. You can drag and drop them there. In the old system, you could only drag one file, and it was kind of confusing, but we wanted to kind of make that more consistent. So we removed the box that was there, and you do have to click on the add files to do that. It's just something that we wanted to do. It's also alleviated some possible security issues that could have come up but never have, so no big deal. Just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that one. And round robin. So we do also have training on round robin. Had a question this week about leads coming in where there was a team, and this team wanted to bring in leads from Realtor.com and Zillow, and as those came in, wanted to be able to do round robin stuff. We do have a training on this. I'm going to refer you to our YouTube. Just do a search, same type of thing that we were doing earlier in here. Instead of seller report, do round robin. And we've got in a couple of these, we've got some have done it several times, where in Q&A sessions that we had back a few years ago, there's also in this the Zillow Zap, basically showing you how to do round robin in it as well. What it comes down to basically is in our settings area, go into settings, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and this record owner assignments section, you have the ability in record owner assignments that as leads are coming in from Zapier, that you can pick an owner, and you can do them as individual owners by default whenever you're bringing in. If you use your API key to bring in leads, it's going to be assigned to you by default. But you also have the option to pick a round robin item from the list. And yours, if you've never been in here before, it'll be all blank down here. But what you can do is click on the little plus, and you can say, my round robin team, whatever. Do I want to choose it as round robin? Or do I want to say, whenever a lead comes in, I want to assign it to multiple owners, multiple record owners, and then whoever gets to it can deal with it. If you choose round robin or multi-owner, there's going to be an option here for how will we assign these names. And I want to assign, maybe I've got my round robin team just is Joe and Bobby. Okay, so I'm going to add Joe to the team and Bobby to the team. Annie, I'm not going to add to the team. So here's the two names on the list. If I'm doing a round robin, what it will do is whenever a lead comes in from Zillow or Realtor.com or any of the other lead sources, and if you've chosen this name in your Zapier dropdown for record owner, it will then assign it to the next appropriate person, the next person in the list. So the first lead that comes in would go to Joe. The next lead goes to Bobby. Then the next lead would loop back around to Joe. So it just kind of circles around. If you've got 10 people on it, it'll just circle through, then start back at the top, whatever the number is. If you're using multiple owners, then whenever it creates this, both of these people would be created as record owners to that record. So that's just a way that if you want to assign, maybe you've got some filters in your Zap and you are assigning names based off of a certain area code or zip code or whatever, that they go to certain people, then you could have a zip code team or a price range team or something like that. And based off of which names are coming in, you want to assign them to certain people. You can certainly do that. So wanted to have that on there. Okay. And that was the last one that I wanted to cover. There was a comment earlier from Cody that said, thanks for sharing, Mark. It's in its final leg, but we're happy to get y'all set up. So for those that saw the announcement about the dashboard items, just email Cody and he will send you guys some information on how you guys can participate if you're interested. He says he's in the final leg, whatever that means. I don't see any other questions. So guys, thank you for attending today. Hope this was informative and helpful. If you guys have questions, shoot them over to our Facebook community page, and we'll try to answer those. Again, remember that there will be a different Zoom link to get into this, because Lisa from our Premium Services Department will be doing the session for me while I'm out, and I appreciate her and her skills. She is very good. I don't know if you guys have ever met or know Lisa, but she is awesome. She deals with agents every day and helping them be more productive. So make sure that you visit our Realvolve community page on Facebook to get the special Zoom link next week at the same time. So guys, thank you so much. We will talk to you later, and hope you have a great rest of your week.